The Director of Operations of the National Security has named some members of pro-NDC militia group, the Hawks, as persons who may have caused the violence that marred the recently held Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. Colonel Michael Opoku told the Justice Short Commission one of the individuals arrested by his men, who were on a mission to retrieve arms from a house in the area, is a known member of the group. The owner of that house, the NDC's parliamentary candidate in the election, Delali Kwesi Brimpong, who also testified before the commission, has meanwhile described as false claims that arms were being stockpiled in his residence. There's more in the following report.
For more than 3 minutes, the Director of Operations at the National Security Secretariat, Michael Opoku, was showed videos of alleged brutalities meted out by his men.
With more beatings before setting off. The voting center is deserted while officers try to secure the ballot box and voting materials.
But he will describe the video as doctored and not a reflection of the events of the day.
This video doesn't follow the sequence of events as we all knew it on the first day. If anybody can get the first day video, you see this one is a doctored video.
He, however, confirmed the men seen in the tape are employees of the National Security Secretariat.
The men I saw are part of the SWAT and the operatives that form the patrol team.
The mask used by the National Security SWAT team during the visit to the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency has also come in various testimonies before the commission. The SWAT commander DSP Azugu had told the commission it was either for mosquito protection or to hide identity, but could not tell the exact reason for its use on the day in question. The Director of Operations gave some explanation.
Okay, the mask, as my DSP said, was mosquito, but it wasn't for mosquitoes. I think it was just a joke that he made. But we normally mask to ensure that our operatives are not seen. And in this situation, those who were masked, that was the essence. We didn't want their cover to be blown.
He also revealed to the commission his men were not only monitoring the house belonging to the NDC parliamentary candidate.
Oponglo, skill training area, warehouse around La Baliwashi, and Elkin Hotel. Elkin Hotel.
He said one of the arrested individuals has been captured in various posts on the internet as a leader of pro-NDC militia group, the Hawks.
I saw one huge person, and I was told he's the leader of the Hawks vigilante group. I actually Googled the picture, and I saw that he was the leader of the Hawks. He's the face of Hawks on internet. There's some huge man you see at the back, Hawks, fair. He was one of those who are arrested.
The failure of the SWAT team to breach the facility where arms were allegedly being kept has been questioned by the commission. The Director of Operations, however, insisted his men were right in aborting the mission.
And I think they used the last principle of preventing what was happening into degenerating into a worse situation. After all, we had information about these weapons that were going into the house from within them, and who will get the weapons at the appropriate time.
The commission asked that he returns to continue his testimony on Monday, since he had made reference to some videos the commission wants to have access to before they continue with proceedings. The NDC's parliamentary candidate Delali Brimpong was the next to testify. His lawyers asked that they are allowed to cross-examine other witnesses that have already testified.
Wanted to reserve the right to re-examine our own witness after he has given his evidence and been cross-examined by counsel for the commission, and then subsequently to call any other witness who has given evidence before the commission that touches upon and concerns our client.
The commission deferred its ruling. Mr. Brimpong described as false claims some weapons were being kept in his house.
I have no evidence at all before I left my house, after I have returned, and with all the accounts and the people I knew coming to my house, bringing any arms at all into my house.
He rather said there was evidence of multiple shots fired from outside his premises.
there was evidence of 15 gunshots.
The commission will resume its proceedings on Monday.
Now, in another development, the police have named 8 more persons wanted in connection with the shooting incident at the party's Ashanti regional office, in which 1 person was killed. The latest names brings to 12 the number of suspects wanted in connection with the crime. A statement issued by the police added photos of some of the suspects and appealed to the public to help trace their whereabouts. So the name for this gentleman is Akon, as given by the police, and then Elements. And Warrior is one of the suspects who was mentioned in the first press release by the police. He's also known as Hussein. There's also Mohammed, also known as Commando. And this is Malam. And this gentleman is whose name is given as Rock. Now, in a related development, national chairman of the opposition NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, says the party has decided it will dissociate itself from the militia. It will have to dissociate itself from the militias known to be affiliated with it. The country's political parties have in the past relied on the militias to provide internal security. Former Deputy Sports Minister Joseph Yamin was on Tuesday invited over his affiliation with the Hawks of the NDC, who he says he's proud to be associated with.
These are party people and they play their role as party members. That is all. So don't compare us to the invisible force.
Mr. Yamin, with the way you're talking, it's as if you are financing them.
Financing them. If I finance them to do their activities in the party, what is wrong with that? That is the question I also want to put to you. That you are singling out the Hawks. What is your interest? Have you heard any Hawks member going beyond terrorizing Ghanaians like the invisible forces and others are doing? Have you heard any Hawks member going to a regional coordinating council to pull a whole regional security council coordinator down? No. If we are talking about people in political parties that are abusing whatever rule they have, terrorizing Ghanaians, let's talk about that. This is an issue that happened within a political party, and the party had issued a statement claiming that it's a criminal issue. Any issue that has to do with a life lost, it's a criminal issue, and the party is cooperating with the police to get to the bottom of it, and that is why we are here. But the issue of let's ban vigilante groups, they were there as a party members, and unfortunately an issue happened. I'm saying that if we should go to that extent and try to compare, because there's these vigilante groups that just terrorize people in this.
But so then it means you are financing them.
What is wrong with financing party people? They are party members.
Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo, however, says Monday's shooting incident in Kumasi provides ample evidence that the militias cannot be encouraged to operate.
When we talk about vigilante, it's about people who have taken the law into their own hands and say that we are turning law and order upside down. And then you see, so we are not looking at vigilantism from any positive direction. I also want us to hasten slowly.
In what?
By going and describing people as party militia and all those things. I think that
party militias.
I think that you know,
how would you describe
for instance,
would you describe the guys at Ayawaso
for instance, all the groups that congregated in front of the NDC office, if they were armed, the narrative would have been different.
That's true.
Listen, the narrative, somebody armed himself, move into their midst, shot at them, and then run away. And you are saying that these are people who are armed.
Yeah, but those
if they were armed, really, they would not have been there for somebody to use pistol to come and kill people.
You disagree
and go
with the description party militias?
Well, I think that we should hasten slowly because I don't think that we have gotten to that point.
We do not. We no longer want to make it an attractive proposition.
Well, whatever it is, it's not an attraction.
Your reaction to party militias,
you see, whatever it is,
dangerous.
Whatever it is, I as an individual, I want to say that I will never encourage vigilantism or militias
or whatever you call it.
You see, Professor Kofi Ono, may he so rest in peace, never knew that an internal insurgency in Nairobi, Kenya, will be where he will meet his untimely death. What happened in Kumasi could have happened to any of us. If that person who came with a premeditated, act to come and kill, it could have been me. It could have been anybody.
Yeah.
So we need to collectively stand up against this, development, which for me is not good for the body politics of this country.
Mr. Fosuampofo, who was speaking in an interview to be aired later tonight on PM Express, also clarified the party's position on the work of the Justice Emil Chord Commission. It's as though the party had initially indicated it will not cooperate with the commission. Members of the party who are invited are free to go. He added they could also refuse to go, as decided by the party's general secretary.
The decision was that we were not against the setting up of the commission, but we felt that prosecution should take place whilst the commission also does their work.
Yeah, but you
Indeed, we have subsequently issued statement to the effect that victims of the party
can go,
who suffered from this assault, are free to go to the. And then, our parliamentary candidate was there this morning. So we have at least.
Have you changed your position then? Because their party said you boycotted them.
Well, so as a party going in a corporate image and body as a party there, we have decided that we are not going that way.
So but if you are invited, you embody that corporate. If you are invited by the commission, you won't go?
Well, the General Secretary was invited and he has written to them. He has written to them that he's not coming because in the first place, he as an individual.
And you support that?
Yes, he as an individual. He has been invited. No, I'm saying that he has been invited as a material witness.
I was invited yesterday. I was described as a material witness.
And I'm saying that the General Secretary was not in the country when the election was held.
Mr.
And so he has written to them, please. I'm saying that the General Secretary has been invited in his capacity, and he has written to them. He has not disregarded them.
He says he
has written to them that if it's about a material witness, he was not in the country when the exercise took place.
Now, the National Commission for Civic Education has also condemned the shooting incident involving party militia group the Hawks in the Ashanti region last Monday, which led to the death of one person. Now, NCC boss Josephine Nkrumah says the outfit will continue to condemn, name and shame all political parties who endorse or support any of these groups until the groups are disbanded in word and in deed. The Hawks are said to be affiliated to the biggest political party, the NDC, and they clashed with other members of the party in Kumasi. Efwa Evans-Chinri reports.
The NCC has consistently campaigned against the operations of political party thugs in the country, warning that the danger they pose to our democracy cannot be overemphasized. The NCC said it has observed a growing trend of violence that is becoming a brand of by-elections, referencing the violent attacks and shootings at the by-elections at the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. Speaking at a press briefing to address the recent clashes by a pro-NDC militia group in Kumasi, NCC boss Josephine Nkrumah says it is regrettable to note that despite repeated calls to end this, politicians continue to downplay the NCC's warning but rather embolden these violent groups.
The Commission has consistently alerted political actors and political leaders on the dangers these thugs pose to the security of our country. It is regrettable to note that despite these repeated calls, political leaders and politicians of influence continue to downplay the NCC's warnings and that of other concerned institutions and personalities to end political party vigilantism, but rather make pronouncements that further embolden these violent groups who are mostly used to fulfill the parochial and political interest of politicians. Every citizen of Ghana has the right to security as enshrined under the provisions of human rights in our 1992 Constitution. And the Commission holds the view that the activities of these political hoodlums, backed, endorsed, or sponsored by political parties, are an abuse of our rights.
She says although her outfit is planning to undertake a national dialogue to deal with this situation, Ghanaians must continue to speak against these acts.
Active citizenship cannot be exercised in meaningful ways if people fear for their safety. The Commission calls on all Ghanaians, business entities, religious groups, media, trades union, academia, students, civil society organizations, leaders of all institutions, including right-thinking politicians, to rise up and speak against political parties and political leaders with political party affiliated thugs or groups attached to them.
Madam Josephine Nkrumah further stated that the NCC anticipates that recommendations by the Emil Short Commission of Inquiry into the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election will strengthen and empower security agencies to operate optimally.
Well, we here at Joy News have decided to take a stand against the activities of private militia groups, and for that reason are no longer going to refer to them as political vigilante groups. From henceforth, we're describing them as private militia groups. Here's a report on the launch of our campaign.
These thugs have over the years terrorized, maimed, and even killed political opponents of their paymasters, and sometimes even innocent citizens. Politicians and even some business people are behind these groups. Until now, many people have referred to these groups as vigilante groups. But Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu yesterday gave them perhaps the best description so far.
We shouldn't use nice euphemisms like political vigilantism. They are private militias. And the danger is that, as you pointed out, these rival groups are beginning to fight within the parties, which means that they answer to particular leaders. That makes the leaders warlords. And this is warlordism that, if not checked, can degenerate.
The head of Joy News' political desk, Evans Mensah, made this recommendation to the Justice Emil Short Commission when he appeared before it yesterday.
The political parties must be made, compelled either by law, to immediately disband these groups. Not only disband the groups, disarm the groups. Because I've heard members of the audience who listen to Joy FM or the Joy News on television say to us that if you only disband, we know that some of these individuals are armed. What do they do with the arms they have if you only disband? There must be a deliberate process to disarm them.
Respected civil society groups like the Cedi, IDEG, and CODEO in a statement says, and I quote, "The Council of State, National Peace Council, National House of Chiefs, religious leaders, and well-meaning Ghanaians should prevail on the two major political parties to immediately dissolve and discontinue the formation and operation of illegal armed groups commonly referred to as political vigilante groups." The chief executive of the Telecoms Chamber, Kenneth Ashigbe, tweeted the following: "All religious leaders, traditional leaders, civil society groups, media, and all ordinary Ghanaians like myself, let's all galvanize and force the NPP and NDC to disband the political thugs and militia groups and their warlords." I hope now the media will stop calling them vigilantes, which they are not.
Watching Journey's Prime, we're taking a river still ahead. The depreciation of the Ghana Cedi against the major trading currencies is continuing to give traders sleepless nights.
People come and they want to travel, and then you check the fare for them. They always get shocked. They get surprised about the amount they are supposed to pay. It makes people just move a little back in travel.
And customers of Gold Coast Fund Management are threatening to hit the streets if government fails to retrieve their deposits locked up with the company in 5 days.
Justice! Our money should be paid to us as soon as possible. Even than that, we are going to hit the street of Kumasi to log our protest.
Stay tuned, we'll be back with business news in a bit. Now, a coalition of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management has given government 5 days to intervene by retrieving the locked-up investment with the company, or they will hit the streets in protest. Members also want the company, a subsidiary of Group Indum, to pay at least half of their investments. They say the company has since June last year failed to pay both the interest and principal. The coalition's public relations officer, Charles Nyame, addressed a news conference in Kumasi. He says early explanations by the group president, Dr. Pakwesi Indum, suggesting he had invested 1.9 billion Ghana cedis in government infrastructure projects cannot be trusted.
This practice violates the Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC regulation that gives no right to any fund management to vary the terms and conditions of the contract they have entered with their customers. Yet, Dr. Pakwesi Indum and his GCFN company have willfully decided to disregard the terms and conditions of the contract with impunity. And surprisingly, they have gone away without any sanctions by the regulators, thus Securities and Exchange Commission and Bank of Ghana. Dr. Indum is no different from Nana Apia Mensah, the CEO of Men's Gold, except that Dr. Indum hides behind partisan politics to perpetuate crime against innocent citizens of this nation, this great nation. We need justice. I repeat, we need justice. Nana will repeat, we need justice. We repeat, we need justice. Our money should be paid to us as soon as possible. Dr. Pakwesi Indum should bring back our monies, should bring back the money of the poor Ghanaian taxpayers. Either than that, we are going to hit the street of Kumasi to log our protest because we need our money now.
Now, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is raising red flags about plans by the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to spend about $43 million on corporate social responsibility and less on its operational functions. ACEP says the GNPC is spending $20 million on its operations in the Voltairean Basin, which is less than 50% the amount it is blowing on CSR programs. So the corporation plans to spend $43.05 million on corporate social responsibility for the 2019 operational year. In 2019, GNPC proposes to spend $20.3 million on its operations in the Voltairean Basin and its subsidiaries in the sector. This is less than 50% of what GNPC wants to spend on CSR. It says, while GNPC, like any corporate entity, has a responsibility towards society, it is unusual for sound corporate organizations to spend more than 10% of their cash flow, not profit, on corporate social responsibility. The corporation's CSR expenditure becomes more profound when its CSR budget is compared with the budget of some critical ministries. And it goes on to list some of the budgets of the ministries and compares them in total relation to the total budget of the mentioned ministry. So in connection with the amount of money that GNPC is spending on CSR. So those plans by GNPC to spend that amount of money on corporate social responsibility has angered the minority in Parliament, and they're accusing the corporation of wasting public resources. Among others, the money will be used to pay for the controversial Drone for Black Delivery project scholarships. Now, the minority in Parliament is demanding the immediate withdrawal of the GNPC's work plan, which is currently before Parliament for approval. They are also unhappy with GNPC's plans to borrow $250 million for government. Minority spokesperson on finance, Kasila Toforsen, says he will go to court if the majority uses its numbers to approve the deal.
In the last energy sector levies report that was laid before Parliament, they used part of the money for the purposes of paying for pension. Pension, misapplication of fund, clear misapplication of fund. If I'm paying something, you are supposed to use it to do something, and you are using it to pay for pension, and you are telling me that you are going to borrow $250 million for the purposes of other expenditure in the energy sector. Unacceptable. This should not be allowed to go. Apart from the kind of expenditure going on, they are going to spend like $1 million Ghana cedis to buy equipment for a private hospital, Focus, and other ones. I mean, if you look at some of the expenditure here, look, GNPC is behaving as if they are a real estate company. They are going to renovate Red Cove, Bangalore 2, Bangalore Days Hospital. Is it an energy sector, a real estate company? I don't know what they are doing. Corporate social responsibility budget. They are spending grand total $43.5 million US. And look at the some of the things they are going to do. They are going to pay for Dr. Bawumia's drone, $1 million. They are going to equipment for Department of Surgery at Kolebu, $0.82 million. It means 820,000. Health campaign, sanitation, environmental campaign. I mean, what is all this? Professional chairs. For what? I mean, some of them, when you read it, then you start getting palpitations. I don't know what is happening.
Are you going to approve this? Are you going
to count me out already. Count me out. From what I've read, count me out. I'm certainly out of it. I'm certainly out of it. I'm going to oppose this from day one. All what I want GNPC to do now, and the Ministry of Energy, is humbly withdraw this document and come back and bring something that is acceptable. This one, on the face of it, can never be accepted. They should immediately withdraw this document and come and lay something acceptable to members of Parliament. Because I'm going to lead a crusade against this kind of expenditure. It should never be allowed to stand.
Well, Information Minister Kojo Ponkrumah is there in the minority to go ahead and sue.
Legal breaches are settled in the courts. As I've said to you time and time again, do not allow any politician to define for you what he thinks the law is and then ask you to judge matters on radio. If indeed they believe that they are legal breaches, we don't settle legal breaches on radio with the greatest of respect. They know where to proceed to establish as a matter of fact that they are legal breaches. In the absence of that, we can't go on that tangent.
To the extent that up to $250 million, you understand, is the money it's borrowing on behalf of the state, with the one could even negatively impact the operations of the state entity. Isn't this something that government on its own should be worried about even before anyone proceeds?
Again, if it is their view that it is a legal breach, they know where to settle it. If it is their view that it's a policy matter they do not agree with, policy matters are decided first at cabinet and then brought on the floor for approval. Have these two benchmarks been met? If they have been met, then one person's view that he does not subscribe to that policy position cannot cause the entire country to say that it is, undoing that particular policy position. So if it's a legal matter, they know where to take it. If it is a policy matter, then they know that one person's view on a policy matter does not, undo that policy.
They say they are spending more than $40 million on CSR, which they think that money could probably have been plowed back into the 2019 budget.
Which they think.
Which could have.
But of course, all of that expenditure goes to impact our country. All of that expenditure, it's not as though that money is being spent in another jurisdiction. That money, to the best of my understanding, is being spent here in Ghana to augment part of the resources in this country that are being used to provide goods and services, public goods and services to our people. So that argument, with great respect, will not be tenable.
MPs are asking President Akufo-Addo to lay out a clear plan on how he intends to deal with the country's security challenges when he appears before the House with a statement on the state of the nation. They're also asking him to lay out a clear plan on how he intends to deal with the depreciation of the Cedi, which Minority Spokesperson in Finance Kassia Latufosin says is getting out of hand.
Thank you. Tomorrow will be the third time His Excellency the President will present his message of the state of the nation to all of us of the state. Basically, I expect the President to be truthful to the people of this country by telling us the true state of our economy, in the sense that we are witnessing a rapid depreciation of our currency to the extent that investors are panicking, businessmen are scared, and what is actually happening is going to affect inflation going forward. Today, we are saying the prices of goods and services more or less have stabilized, but that stability cannot be sustained if the Cedi is not actually put in check. You see the seasonality end December and early January. We are in February. There shouldn't be any seasonal element in the depreciation of the currency. Today we are seeing the Cedi depreciating above 4 to 5%. I expect the President to communicate in a way that will give assurance to the investor community, those who are buying our bonds, those who are actually sending capital outside our shores. And that is very important. And this should be a mixture of fiscal policy and monetary policy communication. That is what I expect from His Excellency the President. Failure to do it, or if he is to say anything negative, contrary to what we expect him to say, the Cedi can slip even further.
Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah says the President will address the issue of the economy.
Subsequent to those 2 years, we have a lot of clarity on what is ahead of us in the next 2 years, and he will be speaking to the specifics of the last 2 years and the next 2 years ahead of us.
Particularly on the economy, the Cedi is a big issue. It's continuous depreciation, your colleagues on the minority side say. What can you expect him to say on that?
The currency of any country is a major matter of interest and a major tool for that economy. And the President will speak to the economy as a whole and the key parts of the economy, including matters that affect the pockets of Ghanaians.
Yeah, they make the point, the ranking on the Finance Committee, that he wants to hear something that will boost the confidence of investors, because there's capital flight out of the country which is leading to that. Will they get that?
There's scores of other things that many other people also want to hear. And so we'll wait to hear the President as he outlines the many other things that people want to hear him speak about. It's not about what you, Joseph, want to hear, or what I, Kojo, want to hear, or what one person on the majority or the minority side wants to hear. It's about what message the people of Ghana need to hear from the President of the Republic, and he will do well to highlight all of those key issues.
Other MPs have also been speaking on the expectations of tomorrow's SONA, particularly security.
Well, collectively we are being threatened by militias in the country who have taken over, who are unleashing growing levels of lawlessness, and we expect the President to be candid about the failings of this government in the area of security. His first duty as the first gentleman or the commander-in-chief is to ensure the collective security of Ghanaians. On that score, he's failed woefully, and we expect a candid admission of his failings in the area of security.
The President to tell us the state of security in the country, because we have realized that there's insecurity in the country. He has to tell us how he's going to put measures in place to provide security for the citizenry. For the past few months, we have encountered a lot of insecurity in the country. He must come out also to condemn the activities that occurred at Ayawaso West Wagon. He must also come out to condemn every activity of insecurity that occurred in the country.
What we must all condemn, the two dominant parties, that's my political tradition, the New Patriotic Party, and the NDC, what we must all condemn in unison is the act of murder that took place out of political vigilantism.
Now, some Ghanaians have also been sharing their views on what they expect President Akufo-Addo to tackle in Thursday's State of the Nation address. Amongst the numerous concerns are the continuous depreciation of the Cedi and what they describe as a high state of insecurity in the country.
Job centers are collapsing. Even I'm a Uber driver. Most of the bankers came to join the drivers now, so the work is now difficult for us. For how we can go in and out is now more, it's less. How to work now is very less for us because there are more drivers in the system.
President should hammer more on the state of the security because there's more insecurity things going on in the nation and it's worrying. So I want him to tackle the insecurity in the nation.
My problem is the cost of living in Ghana today, and then some of our road networks in some of the rural areas. You know, our food used to come from those areas. So I believe the focus should be at those sides, especially the Eastern Corridor.
See the situation or the fiscal policy is not really having impact on the economic activities that are going on at the moment. So I think something seriously has to be done about the falling value of the Cedi.
In WA, correspondent Rafiq Salam reports residents want the president to speak on the issues of road infrastructure, security, the free SHS double-track system and jobs.
President Akufo-Addo tomorrow will be delivering the State of the Nation address to Parliament. We are here right at the heart of the Wa municipality, to be precise, the southern entrance of the Wa market. We want to get the mood of the people, what they expect to hear from their president.
For me, in the Upper West region, I speak purely at the regional level. But number one, they should look at the road sector. For example, the Wa Hamley Road has been done, which is at Nandom, and it's not going beyond. It's a problem. Wa Tumu is also a big problem. It's at around Hang area. It's not enough. So I think that if they can also link Wa to Wa East and then cross the Kulun Road, which gives us a shorter road to Tamale, open up the place, it will be very good. The Wa Regional Hospital is standing at a standstill. I want to see Dr. Misansari, who came to the region here to give us a word, saying that by the first quarter of this year, we are already in the second month of the first quarter. They should fix the Wa Regional Hospital so that people in the Upper West region from the district will have a referral center for us to run around.
If they can give us jobs that are sustainable, at least, I think all these issues of armed robbery and rampaging the whole society will stop.
Another issue who they want the president to address on the SONA is security.
I want a situation where we can get an assurance that not only vigilantism, the issue of armed robbery, don't forget in this region that we have, Upper West region, motor theft is a huge issue. So therefore the government can bring in more policemen.
Oh, mostly I want to hear on the security issues pertaining to the recent events that have been occurring. Mostly that's what I want to hear.
The depreciation of the Cedi against some major foreign currencies and the free senior high school double-track system are two major issues which are of concern to final year students of Wa campus of the University for Development Studies, Ankama Ebenezer.
Well, I'll be expecting that he will throw and then shed on some light on the current exchange rates. Now we have $1 to be almost 5 cities, 20 pesos now. So we are hoping he will shed some light on that.
For middle-aged Hajia Alimata Sadia Pelpo, she wants President Akufo-Addo to speak on jobs for women to enable them to take care of their families.
We want the president to give us jobs. When that happens, we can brag and praise him for what he has done.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And we would have the views of some traders at Bolgatanga, the Bolgatanga market in the Upper East region, as well as some students from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So we're having their views. We're going to be sharing their views with you in a bit. All right, so we're returning to our earlier story on the public's expectations ahead of the delivery of the State of the Nation address by President Akufo-Addo on Thursday. Some traders at the Bolgatanga market, they've also been sharing with Joy News what they feel is the current state of the nation. Joy News' Upper East correspondent Alberto reports the traders touched on issues of the economy, security and roads.
Previously, the market was good, but nowadays it's like everything is down, has come down, and the market, people are no more patronizing the smokes like it used to be. The reason is that I'm sure it's because there's no money in the system due to the poor nature of the economy. That's why people are no more patronizing the smokes like they used to do.
If the economy is good, we would have seen it in our pocket. The difficulty is that there is no money in the system. There is no money in the system. When you talk to, they say it's about the exchange rate. Every now and then, dollar is going up and down, up and down.
Last year, for example, we're not getting goods to do our weaving, and it was so difficult from September up to December. We're not getting our yarns. When we want to complain, they will say the currency is too high. They can't provide us. Oh, well, like that, till this year, we started getting some small, but the cost is too high.
This new year, dear, in fact, since the prices of things are very high, the price of corn is very high. We go to our for all these foodstuffs. Look at the fare and everything before it lands here. It should be 130, 135 a bag.
In our business, the market is going small bears. Most of people, whenever they come to buy, they always complain of the price. A lot of people consider whenever fuel rise, things always increase.
Our road from Bolga to Boko is a problem. And then we pay tax. And it's through our tax that they use to develop all this road for us and all this, but we are not seeing it.
About Boko and Bolga roads, last 2 weeks we had an accident about 2-3 times there. The road needs to be constructed.
Meanwhile, students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology expect President Akufo-Addo to announce a roadmap to end political party militia in Thursday's State of the Nation's address. The students say though economic and other nation-building factors are as important, security must take center stage. The students also advocate amendment of the country's constitution to make the police and the Electoral Commission more independent. Frank Blay is Speaker of the Students' Parliament.
In Ghana, political vigilantism has gotten a different meaning, which is violence, pure violence, and killing.
You believe that this is an act of lawlessness, and if we continue to accommodate and entertain them, there's no way Ghana will enjoy the peaceful nature that is having at the moment.
We are using this medium to appeal to the government of Ghana and our national parliament, the National House of Chiefs, and then the National Peace Council, that with immediate effect, they should all come together, try as much as possible to amend certain articles in the Constitution, which becomes the remote cause of political vigilantism in Ghana.
Now, the depreciation of the Ghana Cedi against the major trading currencies is continuing to give some business owners and traders sleepless nights. Travel and tour companies say many of their customers fail or refuse to buy tickets because of the unstable nature of the dollar. Some traders say they have to constantly adjust their prices to cut losses, adding some customers fail to understand them and rather accuse them of arbitrarily hiking prices. Hannah Odami filed the following report.
The offices of NITA Travel and Tour Agency are usually very busy, but lately, customers hardly visit their offices. Operators blame this on the unstable and depreciation of the cedi.
Depreciation makes our business very slow. Because when people come and they want to travel and then you check the fare for them, they always get shocked. They get surprised about the amount they are supposed to pay. It makes people just move a little back in traveling because the amount keeps on going higher and they can't sometimes afford it. You need to pay taxes and other stuff, so if they are not coming in, you also find it difficult paying. As an education and travel consultant, most of our dealings are done with a foreign currency, especially when you're paying stuff like application fees to schools and all that. So eventually it means that the operational cost has gone up for us. And when you talk to clients and you talk to them about our service charges, the same service charge, but it looks kind of huge for them because they'll be paying with a Cedi, but a dollar equivalent. So it makes it look scary and more expensive to the ordinary Ghanaians.
But the travel and tour organizations are not feeling the pinch alone. Traders say Cedi depreciation is negatively impacting their businesses.
For me, I'm just working at a loss because I buy these products at a high price and yet I can't increase the prices. When I ask for reduction, I am told the dollar is high against the Cedi. That's why.
Dollar business we foreign goods.
These things I sell are foreign goods and the charges at the ports are in dollars. I have no other option than to pass on these high costs onto the consumers. I just cannot keep losing profits.
Price now almost in the wedding. And your mama say 200 pieces and about me to almost 100 and 150. Now they can masanya go back. Myself a car. Affecting.
Supermarket demo be great. The obeti amount. And you know the bema. The open no the bema because
at first people do not complain about the money I charge after sewing for them. These days, even if I ask them to pay 30 cedis for a sewn dress, they complain. I used to buy lots of fabric with little money, but now I can't do it. This is too bad for business.
First, I say 1,000. Minya na mandrudo be break keke. But I say me 4,000 kakrebi pe na minya. Minya ndrudo to say first.
Whilst these traders are recommending governments appreciate their concerns and address them, a member of the MPP communications team, Richard Ahiagba, says the implementation of government's flagship programs will help stabilize the city.
Let's now begin to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. So then if we're able to do that, we'll address the question of our currency, which always fluctuates back and forth because we are depending on other people's currency or we're buying other people's currency to feed our appetite. That's something that we can have a common action agenda on. And I believe that when we do so, this country will be better for it. So the Cedi situation, it is clearly a product of our tastes, and this government, the agenda to do with one district, one factory, if pushed successfully, one district, one village, one dam, push us constructively, because when we achieve that, the benefit will not know an NDC person, will not know an MPP person. It will be a Ghanaian benefit, and I think that will help us address some of this problem.
Hannah Odame for Joy News.
Now, the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital has been listed among health facilities in West Africa to benefit from the establishment of a dialysis unit in the country. The Chinese government and officials of the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital signed a memorandum of understanding to formalize the health infrastructure partnership at the maiden edition of the three-day West African International Health Summit in Accra. Matilda Vamega has more.
The establishment of a dialysis center is a partnership between the Chinese government and the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital to improve healthcare delivery in the sub-region. The hospital is also expected to benefit from a $25 million cardiothoracic center in Ghana. Construction is expected to begin by the middle of this year. Chief Executive of the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Oheneba Owusu-Danso, says this project will be the second of its kind in Ghana. He spoke at the maiden edition of the West Africa Health Summit taking place in Accra.
In the past 10 years, we've been collaborating with a Chinese team from the Guangzhou Provincial Hospital, and they've been collaborating with us in the area of cardiothoracic surgeries, where they've been offering free services, and through that we had a lot of transfer of technology and equipment in terms of cardiothoracic surgeries. And training has also undertaken place in various forms. In fact, the staff from our place, the consultants and nurses, have had various training opportunities in China. As I speak this year, through the engagement with my ministry, that's the Ministry of Health, and then the Ministry of Finance, the Chinese government is about granting us the facility to construct the second cardiothoracic center in Ghana at Konfarachi. The other thing is to do with an MOU which we are just about going to sign as part of this summit for the establishment of one of the key dialysis centers in Africa, which was spoken about earlier on in the speeches.
The three-day summit aims, among other things, to discuss and showcase best practices in healthcare among health facilities in Africa. Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, at the opening of the summit, called for collaboration and networking among the various stakeholders in the healthcare sector to be more effective.
Collaborating through networking is a recent effort globally to pop out of the myopic shell of isolation and find solutions common to humanity as a whole. Experiences and exposure can be shared instantly through such practices, and we should develop the practice stronger and stronger and as soon as possible. It is vital for us to expand our manufacturing capacity in collaboration.
Dr. Charles Dramina, Ghana's Deputy Ambassador to China, says this summit also aims at making Ghana the hub for medical tourism in the sub-region.
Initially, we are creating the avenues for our facilities to collaborate amongst themselves, enhance their skill sets now, form partnerships that will lead to real, exchanges that will benefit healthcare. In line with His Excellency the President's vision of making Ghana an industrial base. So indeed, this is not just about healthcare, it's also about trade and industries.
The summit is under the auspices of Oriental Biomedical Services and in partnership with the health ministries of some African countries, as well as the ECOWAS Commission, the AU and World Health Organization. The three-day summit, which opened from 20th to 22nd of February 2019, is themed Collaborating Through Networking and Technology for Improved Healthcare in Africa. For Joy News, Matilda Pamaga, Accra.
That's it for the bulletin. Ms. Rolai, you have a good evening. PM Express is up next, and Evan Spencer has that exclusive interview with the national chairman of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Samuel Fosu. Do stay tuned.
Is Joy News Prime.